showed that he was a medium-sized gangster, but no better or worse than any of the others. He definitely hadn't earned a crow attack that neither he nor his men would ever recover from, because if the crows started going after every minor scumbag who lived in Los Angeles, yeah, well, that would just be a bad idea.
We can't just give it away, my pretty.
Knowing that these idiots had no idea what they were haggling over was beginning to wear on Jace. The man sitting between her and Tessa in the booth, whose hand was steadily moving up Jace's thigh, was wearing on her even more.
We have money, Tessa promised, and it's just so gorgeous, Vadim. I must have it.
The hand on Jace's thigh inched up a bit more, and she was seconds from breaking the man's fingers.
And what will Vadim get for such pretty bracelet?
He asked, leaning forward across the round table, eyes on Tessa.
My fist up your ass if you don't give us a goddamn price.
The men all looked at Jace, and that's when she realized that she'd not only said that out loud, she'd said it in flawless Russian, in the men's Southern Russian dialect. She couldn't have given away her secret any more obviously if she'd put it on a billboard on the I-10 freeway.
Ah, a sneak, Vadim,
one of the men joked, still not taking any of the women seriously.
They brought in a pretty little spy.
Tessa leaned back in her seat. What's going on? Tessa, an African-American born and raised in San Diego, knew Spanish and a little Korean from her time as a nursing student in a hospital in Koreatown, but that was about it. She now had no idea what was being said. Realizing she'd blown any chance of being subtle here, Jace simply replied, "Just give us the bracelet, Vadim. We'll pay you. Well."
And how will you pay us, little girl?
Vadim suddenly grabbed her chin and held her. Tessa was nearly out of her seat when one of the men pressed a gun to the side of her head. She silently sat back down, but her face said everything that was needed, at least to Jace. These men had just lost their one chance not to end up as bird feed, as the other clans called it.
I don't like to be touched, Vadim Yekimov, Jace warned, so get your hand off me. Or what, little girl? What will you and your brown friend do to me?
The question, a voice from the dark corners of the closed club explained, isn't what she will do. A blade slipped around Vadim's neck and pressed against his jugular.
But what will the rest of us do?
Vadim immediately released Jace's face and raised his hands. Jace wiped the spot where he'd touched her. Not because she had a problem with him in particular, just, again, she didn't like to be touched. From the darkness they emerged, easing into the few lights that were still on in the mostly deserted club. Jace's strike team, the girls she fought with, lived for, would die for if it ever became necessary. Her sisters. All crows were her sisters, but these women, they meant everything to her. Always would. She adored them in a way she never said, but felt deep down in her bones, in her blood. In the soul that now belonged to Skuld until Ragnarok came. Because she chose. A choice she'd happily make again and again. Kara Watson, the last to join their team, but the most naturally protective of any of the crows, reached over the booth back, slipped her hands under Jace's arms, and lifted her up, out, and away from Vadim and his handsy friends.
You all right?
Kara asked, quickly releasing Jace. Kara was a former Marine, and she knew people. Understood them in a way the rest of the crows didn't really bother to do. One of the first things she'd learned about her team was their personal foibles. She knew Jace didn't like to be touched, and she knew she didn't like to sit close to people. So, Kara had made sure to get her friend out of the situation as soon as she could. That was Kara, the full-time fixer of the group. Jace nodded her thanks before addressing Vadim again. "Give us the bracelet," she said in English so that everyone could understand. "This can all be over if you..."